Hello.
Oh, hey, my sound is not right.
Hello.
Hi there.
I don't know if there was, this one had a waiting room, which I'm not used to. Luckily, I was notified. So I'll ask Bernie about that. The other two, I don't think have had a waiting room. But hopefully folks are able to come in now. Great. So good to see you. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and dive right in. We'll do a couple things to get ourselves singing. And we're going to spend great time on the battle hymn tonight, and we'll also go through Funky Dreidl again and keep building that up. So let's do a couple of things here. Go ahead and if you're not on mute, go ahead and mute yourself. Let's just do a couple of easy sirens. Nothing forced, nothing too loud, but find your upper register and just let it cascade down. It sounds like this. Try that in your own voice. Good. Take a nice breath. Do it again. See if we can go just a little higher and let it go all the way down. Good. And just one more, nice and easy. Nice. Let's do a couple of things with our pure vowels, ma, me, mi, mo, mu. So we'll start here, not too high. So it'll be ma, me, mi, mo, mu. See if you can have the same sensation as those sirens. So a nice lifted palate. Let the M bring everything very forward in the mask. So ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Here we go. Ready and sing. Ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Ma, me, mi, mo, mu. Nice. Good. I want to add something a little bit new. Just a slightly different exercise than what we've done in the past. We'll start here. It goes like this. It starts with that arpeggio. And you breathe. There's a little turn. And a scale down. So listen one more time. Try that and we'll talk about it a little more. Not too fast. This can go quite brisk. For right now, we'll take it nice and easy. 1, 2, go. Nice. So a couple things on the way up, we can have a nice little bounce. So it's not legato. And then on the way down, you can kind of group them in twos. So it'll help line things up. Good. Let's start there and we'll go up just a little bit. We won't go too high. Here we go. 1, 2, go. 1, 2, go, and make me whole. And last one. Make me whole. Good. So obviously when we're back together, we can do a lot of those things together. Yeah, some good things for us to know for the future. Great. Let's go ahead, please, and look at the Battle Hymn of the Republic. This is for our Veterans Day postcard, Battle Hymn of the Republic. I want to make sure we touch on one thing before we start. So please look at page 7. We talked about it, I think, last week, but I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. Bottom of page 7. Very first measure at the bottom of the page, very first word. Your score may say live. Please change it to die. So change the word live to die. We'll touch on that again as we go through the piece, but just make sure you have that marked. Sorry, I did not get that done. Good. So let's go back to the beginning. I want to go ahead and sing through this first stanza and refrain, and then we'll do a little bit of talking about it. One thing I'll mention right off the bat before we sing is, I think in this piece, we're approaching it with a formal choral style, in contrast to a lot of the popular things we're singing. And I think in this piece, I think a flipped R will work best. Mine eyes have seen the glory of. So not the American R, glory. I know it's an American piece, but I think the style will benefit from the glory. A flipped R, it's very similar to a D, glory, glory. It'll help with the rhythm for sure. So in this piece, whether it's the refrain or a stanza, please flip the R. That's enough of that. Let's go ahead and do some singing, then we'll talk some more. Here's the beginning, and good. So that's all the way through the first stanza and the first refrain. So I want to mention just a couple of things, and this will apply to the whole piece. So that's good. The piece is straightforward, which is great. So I know you know this melody, but I'm still playing along with you primarily because I want you to compare your rhythm to what you're hearing. We talked about the dotted 8th, 16th. We're being very precise with that. Julie Stiles, actually, alto 1, mentioned no, sorry, soprano 2. It was the first sectional. Mentioned that the very first stanza, the first thing you sing is unusual. It's the only stanza that begins with a 1-note pickup. Every other stanza has 2 notes. So she mentioned that with that word mine back on page 1, it's easy for her to want to make it a 16th. And it's not, it's a straight 8th. Boom, boom, boom. Mine eyes have seen the glory of. So be very precise. I was glad she mentioned it. The other thing I want you to be careful of is please use, in the stanza, use the punctuation. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He is trampling out. So take the breath at the punctuation shorten that note, take the breath, and that'll be through the whole piece. Now, the refrain, we don't do it as much. We're not going to breathe after the comma at 13. So sing all the way through. Glory, glory, hallelujah. So, you know, at the end of the refrain, though, turn the page, page 2, measure 18. At that moment, we always will breathe. Glory, glory, hallelujah is truth. Will always offset whatever that last phrase is, okay? So those are the general punctuation rules. The last thing I want to mention is at the bottom of page 1, in that refrain, please pay attention to the dotted quarter note. So this is measure 13 and 14. Don't make the rest get too long, okay? Glory, glory, hallelujah, glory. The reason is I want that to be consistent with all the sections. You'll see why, because it's something you guys have to do. So just be in the habit of that. Don't let it become a quarter note. Keep it the 8th note, okay? So keep it a little later. That's a lot of talking, but that's pretty much all the talking we've got to do about kind of the general characteristics. So I want to sing this beginning again, okay? See if we can incorporate that stuff. Now, we're going to keep going. So on page 2, where we start stanza 2, now you guys are in harmony. You're lower, but it's all the same rhythm. It's all the same text idea. So keep all that, and we'll just read through it. Here we go, from the beginning. Is our first time through the second stanza where you sing in harmony and then have a little counter melody on the refrain. Sorry about that one rhythm.
Hey, Rob.
Yeah, go ahead.
In measure 30, you cut us off on 3. Is that what you wanted? Or are we cutting off on 4?
No. If I did that, that was an error.
Okay.
So his day is 1, 2, 3, breathe.
Okay, great.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sure the conducting on the recording is correct. I hope so. Yes. So in that refrain, starting at measure 31, when you have, go ahead and take your commas. So shorten the last quarter note to an 8th note. So that was that whole thing in the first refrain. I want the sopranos and altos to be used for that dotted quarter. So in this moment, you all release together. And again, have good shape. Gloria, hallelujah. You can have a little shape there, diminuendo, as the phrase goes. Then the next one starts over and has a little crescendo diminuendo. Nice. So any questions about how to find your note going into this stanza? It's on page 2, the pick up to 23. If you were a solfege person, it's me. The last thing you hear is this chord. Here's the melody note is sol. Now you're here. But obviously you are different now. So let's go through this again, the second stanza, and then we'll be able to handle the rest of the piece. So here we are, please. This is the, I'll play the little interlude. This is before 23. You'll hear what I'm doing, so you'll know when to come in. This is before 23, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Question?
So can we just go over starting at 31 as being like a layman who's used to hearing that first stanza? The second one is a little new to me. So when we go, instead of glory, glory, hallelujah, when it's glory, hallelujah, I get a little stuck. Can we just talk through that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Right at 31.
Yeah. We don't have the repetition of the word. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, what the composer is doing is giving you your own melody now. The nice thing is you do start on the same note as the standard refrain. So that's good. So let's try this, because you get to do this a bunch in this piece. This comes back in stanza 4. So let's sing this one more time right at 31. Now you have straight quarter notes. Gloria, hallelujah. Here we go. 1, 31, go. Go. Yeah, so you'll get to do that again in stanza 4. So there's a lot of repetition there. So I think that'll come. But it's a nice little counter melody. Yeah, go ahead.
And can we just hear our note? Because
Yeah, that's all I was playing.
Way too low. Yeah, I'm like, oh man, I'm singing way too low.
Yeah. And don't be tempted by me down in the baritone. Yeah.
Thank you.
So everything you just did here on page 2 and 3, you're going to do again. Not immediately, because now we have a solo. And just for clarity's sake, the solo lasts from the pickup to page 4 all the way over to the top of 5. So you don't sing that refrain either. So you come in next on the pickup to 23 on page 5. For page 5 now, the pickup to 23, it's the stanza 4 text. That text is in your cheat sheet. Remember, we're hoping that you will continue to memorize. so that when you are recording, you're able to have your eyes up and engage your audience. You know, if you want to write it in your score, fine. If you can just memorize it, great. It's the same music you just did, and it's in your cheat sheet. Obviously, no one's going to come knocking on your door and asking, are you singing from memory? But it would help you, you know, if you could look up. So that's stanza 4. It's the same thing we just went through. There's only one difference, and that is at the bottom of 6. I'm just pointing it out. At the bottom of 6, the very last measure, our God is marching on. It's a whole note. If you go back to the bottom of 3, it's a half note. So just giving you a heads up. Bottom of 6 is a whole note. Now, we're going to do the whole ending here in a second, but first I want to turn the page to 7. 7 is where the altos have their moment. This is stanza 5. This stanza is often offset as something special, and you'll see it has to do with the text. That word that we changed at the bottom of 7, remember, we are singing the original published version. This text was composed in the buildup to the Civil War when they knew people were going to be dying for this cause. And that's why it says, as he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free. Now, afterwards, they changed that to let us live to make men free, but that's why we're changing it back. We're singing the Civil War text. But this is it's a really special moment for the altos. We're going to go through it right now. It's the melody you know, but notice all the rhythm is changed. All those dots are gone. It's straight eighth notes. Okay, it's a little slower. It's straight eighth notes, so it's very even rhythm. And it's march cantabile in a singing style, so as lyric and as beautiful as you can make it. So at the end, there is a crescendo and an accelerando. So just note that's coming. But let's try just this page here, just page 7, right where you come in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. In the final refrain, you folks are the melody again. Okay, really neat moment. The sopranos have this little fanfare figure above you. Yeah. So, any questions about how that works? This is it's a nice thing. Little soprano descant. It's going to be a very cool moment. If you notice with the next page, you have the melody that you know from the refrain. No big deal. And then you've got a very straightforward little coda, the pickup to 56.
I'm sorry, Rob.
Yep.
Question on page 7. It looks like we're starting out piano, and then just in the very last, we go forte.
Yeah, Karen, you actually start mezzo piano. It is softer, yes, but your see your little mezzo piano
yes,
right above,
yes.
yes.
Right.
So ideally, the altos are, I mean, this should just be warm and beautiful, very comfortable dynamic. The sopranos are a little softer. They're going to be heard because they're on top. But we want the alto to be prominent. But you're right. At the end, we build back up to a little more of the martial kind of feel.
So just in that last measure, I guess.
Yeah.
45.
Yeah, exactly. So, we kind of hold it. As he died to make men holy, let us die to make men free, while God is marching. Yeah, then we're back to tempo.
Okay, thanks.
And the final refrain will be nice and full. I mean, we'll have all the altos singing. But yes, it's forte, but you can still keep a free, relaxed voice, very warm sound, right? Because we're going to have, 20 women singing it. But then at the very end, the pickup to 56, you guys have a very straightforward thing here. God is marching on, marching on, marching on, marching on. That whole thing. Good. So let's go back. Let's actually take the whole end of the piece here. We're going to go all the way back to page 6. All the way back to page 6. We're going to do that refrain. That's the refrain for stanza 4. At the top of 7, we'll slow down. You have stanza 5, the beautiful, very even rhythm. And then at the bottom of 7, we crescendo, we get a little faster, and we'll finish it out. So here we are in the middle of 6. This is measure 31. You've already seen this music. So here we go. This is the refrain, measure 31. And 1, 2, 3. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah. So, one thing I want to point out, I mean, I think the piece is pretty straightforward. Certainly ask any questions if you have them. One thing I want to point out, though, is this is a big forte, even fortissimo finish. When we have that, we need to do something a little bit more to make sure our text comes across, and we need to add shadow vowels. I'm sure you've done it with Janie. I don't know if you called them shadow vowels. That's just what I've been called. That's what they've been, told to me. But when we say this final phrase, God is marching on, and you say it 4 times, marching on, we have to really add a little shadow schwa after the word on. Otherwise, that N will get swallowed, and all it's going to sound like is marching aw, marching aw. So it's going to be, while God is marching on, marching on, marching on, marching on. So you hear the little schwa, then I mean, obviously in conversation, we just say marching on, right? But with the big dramatic finish, we got to have a little extra. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy. You'll be singing into a microphone. If you were singing like on a live stage with a full orchestra, you might need to be obnoxious about it. Okay, I've done some things when I've sung a full oratorio where it's just ridiculous, the sounds you're making, but it's the only way to communicate it to the audience, right? We don't have that. In the virtual world, you're all right there with a microphone, but we still need to have a little bit from everyone. Marching on, so a little bit, on. Is that cool? So again, you'll hear me use that term in the future, shadow vowel. It's only for the big dramatic moments that you've got to carry over a large volume. That's what it's there for. Great.
Hey, Rob.
Yes, ma'am.
What does rallentando mean?
Great question. So here we are on measure 57, rallentando. Rallentando, honestly, is in the same ballpark as ritardando, retard. It just means to slow down. Rallentando is, I don't know exactly the technical difference between a rallentando and a retard or a retardando. I can tell you, usually you see rallentando at the very end, like it's the big finish. Sometimes you even see molto rallentando, very big slowdown, right? But yeah, that's what it means. So it'll be, and if you've looked at the video with the instrumentalist, well, with Sean, it's just me and Sean for this piece. You will, you'll see the big finish there. So.
So are we gonna sing that slower at the end?
Oh yeah, yeah. So like going into 56, it's tempo, marching on, marching on, marching on. Exactly.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's just kind of the big dramatic finish that you would expect. The only bad thing about this piece is I think this is the exact same chord progression as when you're playing Super Mario Brothers and you jump to the flag. I mean, remember you get it right? I don't know if it's exactly the chord progression, but when Sean finally played it, and I was, looking at your parts and all that, but when I finally heard it with the piano, I was like, oh man, are you kidding me? So don't laugh when you record it. If you're a Super Mario fan, just, let that one go. Okay, cool. So that is Battle Hymn of the Republic. First stanza for you is unison melody. Second stanza, we have the lower harmony. Third stanza, you don't sing. Fourth stanza is the same as the second. And then that fifth stanza is your beautiful lyric moment. And then you've got the big finish where you sing the melody again. So it's a great piece. I think it's, this text is very important and still has some things to say to us today. So I'm glad we're doing this. I like the fact that we're balancing Veterans Day with something old and truly American, with something much more recent and more international, because a lot of people observe Veterans Day. They may call it something different, but a lot of people lost folks, in war. So it's nice. Good. Let's go, please, to Hanukkah. Funky Dreidl. If you haven't listened to the YouTube recording, please do. Again, I added my conducting. Zonia will have it up, but you can hear the accompaniment right now. The accompaniment is awesome. I mean, it's just so cool what's going on. And you and the first altos, we've already figured out that you pretty much are laying down the groove the whole time. You've got a really cool melody moment down in your lowest register. But the rest of the piece, you're just doing a bunch of groove, which is cool. It's very fun. So let's go through this piece in its entirety. Remember your Hebrew, Neskado Hayasham, Neskado Hayasham. Oh, at some point you probably, you say, hey, Gimel Shin, Dreidl, of course. But so don't be surprised by your Hebrew. The rest of it's English. So let's do this. I will play a lot of the first alto to keep time, to keep space. And really start to think of that first alto part as like your, like Jerry Maguire, they complete you, because the whole groove is this. That's the whole groove. He's just broken it up between the two voice parts. So you'll always keep that first alto in mind. Plus, it helps to keep place when you're not singing. So here we are from the very beginning. We'll go all the way through this piece. So here's the first alto on measure 1. You come in on measure 2. 1, 2, 3. things to help you remember, like the first, I don't know, 16 measures and say the first 16 measures and the last like 12 measures, you work with alto 1, okay? So like the first 16 and the last 12, they do this, and you answer. Those are the beginning and the end. In the middle, most of the piece, you take care of the whole thing because he's got the alto 1s off doing something else. That's why you have all this. So anyway, so just keep that in mind, right? That's just kind of how the piece is structured. And with the exception of your one melodic moment, I mean, that's really what you do the whole time. This has to be one of those things where it's like your favorite tune on the radio, or you go to a concert and the band is playing your favorite song, and you never want it to end. You've got to feel like this groove could just go on forever. You know, pay attention to dynamics. Sometimes suddenly your forte, suddenly your mezzo piano. You know, pay attention to that stuff so it'll help create vitality and interest. You know, if you're forte, it's because there's something big going on top of you. If you're suddenly mezzo piano, it's because there's something much smaller, right? And we don't want to overpower that. When the sopranos are up here on these high Fs and high As, they want to have a lot of you underneath to feel like they're supported. Good. How are you on your melody moment? This is page 9, the pickup to 41. Are we getting that? Because that's important. Because there's 2 moments where, have any of you ever gone to, I have both been at concerts designed specifically for a Jewish audience. I've also sung in those concerts designed specific. In fact, I've even conducted a concert designed specifically for a Jewish audience. Generally speaking, a Jewish audience will be much more involved than a standard audience. It's normal for them to actually start singing along. I've been to a concert where we did some Jewish folk songs, and they don't sit there passively. They just start joining in singing you. Now, it's a virtual world, I get that. We're not going to get that feedback. But I guarantee you, singing this piece, when that melody comes in first in the alto 1s, there will be audible laughs, because that's when they get the joke, right? Because they all know the Dreidl songs, and this piece doesn't start out like a Dreidl song. But when the first altos go, and it's a little bit of a funny version of it, there would be audible laughter. When you guys do it on page 9 in that low husky octave, there would probably be another round of laughter, because they think it's great. So when you sing that, you have to be in on the joke with a little bit of a twinkle in your eye. Like, hey, this is funny. We know it's funny. You know it's funny. I know we won't have the immediate feedback, but that's going to come. We're going to do this again, right? We'll do this sometime with a live audience, and they will dig it. Great. So any questions about Funky Dreidl? Yes.
I just wanted to add, I recorded the section leader thing before we talked about pronunciation. So I recorded it saying nice Gadol instead of nace Gadol. Okay. So don't get fooled when you hear me say it wrong.
Yeah, and just for the record, I'm so happy that the section leaders are cranking out these recordings. But like Emma just said, they're getting some more information too. So please, the approach I want everyone to take is everyone is responsible for their own music making. Okay. I just had a rehearsal with a church group where I'm not the director. I'm just off to the side. There's there's four singers. They're all very spread out. But the soprano was just like blaming the director because the director is singing with them and he did something, and she like wouldn't let it go. Like the reason she messed up was because and I was sitting there behind the organ going, God, get over it. So be responsible for your own music. If you hear Emma do something on the recording, like I think Emma, you said you switched a couple words, right? Don't doubt and go, hey, wait a minute, am I supposed to switch a couple words too? No. 98% of what Emma has done is very helpful. So use that to your advantage, but you still make your own music, okay? You're responsible for your own part. Any other questions before I have to run off to my soprano ones?
Can I just point something out real quick on
Yeah,
page,
go ahead.
when we're starting to get into the, I had a little dreidel, so we're like, Haya, sham, breath, and then we go in and my brain is like, Haya, sham, breath,
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
it's coming too late.
Yeah, you just got to separate the two. Yeah, because you're used to finishing that phrase, right? So yeah, on page 40, I'm sorry, page 9, measure 40, you're right. You just got to be comfortable going, I, ya, sham, I had. Just know it's truncated.
Okay.
I, ya, sham, I had. And so definitely separating sham and I will, that'll help you. I, ya, sham. That's what you normally do. I, ya, sham. I had a little dreidel. Heck, I could sing it with you guys there. It's in my register too. But yeah, no, you're exactly right, Liz. Just got to be comfortable. There's a breath mark there. Just cut it off.
Great.
All right, I've got to go to my next. Thank you, folks. See you
Thanks,
Tuesday.
Bob.
You're nice people. Bye.